Hi everyone, and welcome to today's workshop. I wanted to take a couple of seconds to introduce you to the YMCA of Niagara Employment Services for those of you that are not already familiar. Whether you're looking for an entry-level job or a more senior role, finding a job is never easy, and that's why our free employment programs are here to support you throughout this process. During the times of COVID, we have moved our services online and virtually offer workshops, in addition to Monday to Friday from 12 to 2. Employment coaches are here to support you and answer your employment questions in real time. Check out our website for more information about all of the services we have to offer. If you have any questions about today's workshop or any of our free employment programs, please contact one of our sites, St. Catharines, Thorold, or Niagara Falls. Thanks so much and have a great day.
Thanks so much, Nikki. Hi, everyone. Let's get started. Job searching for youth. So, where do I want to work? This is a question that you want to ask yourself. And you want to base it on things that you've done in the past that you hopefully enjoyed. Looking at your sports, different volunteering that you've been involved in, clubs, hobbies. Do you prefer being indoors or do you like being outside? Do you enjoy being with people all day? Or is working independently something that you enjoy more than being with people? Some additional things you want to consider are, what hours can I work? Are you a morning person? Are you more of an evening, afternoon type of person? How will I get there? Are you sharing a vehicle with a parent or with a partner? Do they work during the day and you're limited to working in the evening if you're counting on having that car available? Looking at the bus routes, maybe there's a friend that you can carpool with. And then childcare. Childcare looks a little different this year than it did in previous years. So having a plan, having reliable people that you know and that you trust to help you out with some childcare. So once you've kind of gone through all of that, you want to make sure that you take some time to just clean up your social media. 70% of employers will check your social media accounts. What it is that they're looking for, we don't know exactly. Basically, they want to just see that you are representing your best self on social media as you may be connected to their company. So taking some time to look through your pictures, making sure that there's nothing involving you with drugs and alcohol, questionable poses, any low quality photos you might want to get out of there. Also taking a look at your email. You may have attached a photo to your email address a few years back and have forgotten what it is. So just take a look, make sure that it's professional, switch it up if you need to. And then your LinkedIn and other job sites, if you have a photo attached to that, you want to make sure that it is professional and that it's not a selfie. Submitting your applications, you want to make sure that you're using a professional email address. The best way to go is first name, last name, a number if it's not available. 1 or 2 numbers is what you want to aim for. Try to avoid a cluster of numbers that might represent your birth year. Resume essentials. Now we could do an entire workshop on resumes. So if this is your first resume, these are some of the things that you want to have in there. If you already have a working resume, you might want to just make sure that a lot of these things are being represented. First of all, your name, first name, last name, quite simple. Address. A lot of more modern resumes aren't including the address. It is important though to have it in there because it does show where you live and that you are living in that same community as the business. Contact number. Now this is one that you do want to take a moment to consider what number you're putting on there. Do you have a personal cell phone? That would be the most ideal with your own voicemail attached to it. If you don't have a cell phone that is personal to you and you're using a landline or a home phone or maybe a parent or partner's phone that you're sharing, just ensure that your name is on that voicemail message and that the number of rings is limited to 3 to 5. Email address we've already talked about. Next, highlights of qualifications. Highlights of qualifications is a good place to show what you can do, show what you've done. Maybe the number of years that you've worked or volunteered in a certain sector. Perhaps they're asking for your SmartServe. It's a good place to say that you have your SmartServe certificate. Anything that will help you stand apart from the other candidates. Number 3 is work history or relevant skills and experience. Depending on your background, maybe this is your first job, maybe you've had a few jobs. that will be a factor in deciding which one you use here, whether it be work history or what relevant skills and experience. And we'll talk about that in the next 2 slides. Education and training indicate if you're currently working. If you're currently in school, maybe you're on summer holiday, maybe you've completed school, and that's a good thing to put in there as well. And then any training that you have, any certificates or courses that you've taken that are relevant to the field that you're going into. Interest and accomplishments is number 5. Now, if you're trying to lengthen out your resume because this is your first job, then absolutely include this. If you are struggling to keep your resume to 1 or 2 pages, that could be something that you omit. If it's directly related to the field that you're going into, then 100% put it in there because it's going to show interest and experience in that field. For example, if you're going for a lifeguard job, working at the pool, and you are an avid swimmer and you've had been involved in some competitions, maybe you've done well, that's something that you would want to include in there. Number 6 is volunteer experience. So if you've had volunteer experience through high school and you've been involved in your community, it's a great idea to include that in your resume because it just shows more about who you are as a person, and it also adds more skill sets to that resume. References available upon request. Unless they specifically say, we would like you to include references with your application, just writing that statement, references available upon request, is good enough for the resume. So this is an example of a chronological resume. So here we have, as you can see, the second heading here is relevant volunteer experience. So this individual did not have any work experience, which is okay. Everyone has to start somewhere. So we used the volunteer experience to help build up that resume and show those skills. In this case, we used a functional style resume. Now, as you can see, the work heading there is work-related skills and experience, with inventory, warehouse, and laborer as the first heading and customer service as the second. So in this particular resume, we are trying to highlight a certain skill set that hadn't really been used since, if you notice here in the work history, the 4th job down. If we would have used a chronological style, that inventory, warehouse, laborer would have been buried, and we wanted to highlight it and put it up to the top. So depending on what you've done and what you want to do moving forward, looking at those 2 different styles of resume could be something that will really help enhance your chances of getting a call. Finding references. References are people who are willing to speak positively on your skills, dedications, and personality. If you have worked before, ideally you're going back and asking a supervisor or manager. Maybe they're not available or you didn't have the best, closest relationship with them. Is there a key holder, a coordinator, even a coworker would be appropriate. If you haven't worked before, then you're looking at a teacher, a volunteer coordinator, a coach instructor, really anyone that can speak to the fact that you showed up on time, had a good attitude, got along with others, and worked your hardest. That's really what they want to find out when they do contact your references. Couple important points. You want to ask your reference if they're available, if they're willing to speak on your behalf. And then you want to inform them when you're close to the point of them potentially getting a phone call. So let's say that you know that you're going in for an interview the following day. It's a good idea to quickly text all your references and say, just so you know, I have an interview tomorrow. Wanted to let you know you may be receiving a phone call. And then following up. It is very time consuming to be a reference, but most people will be very happy to do it. But just make sure you follow up with a quick thank you. Let them know if you got the job, maybe you didn't get the job and you may be needing them down the road. And that's good feedback for them to have. Applying to a job online, where to look, lots of different options online. One thing you do want to make sure is that you're not limiting yourself to that online job search. There's the job bank through the Government of Canada, Indeed, and summer jobs for youth on the Ontario site. All of them are very good resources to look for jobs, what is available in your area. Networking is also something that I would like to highlight. Letting people know that you're looking for a job. Maybe you've worked in the past and they might not be hiring this season, but they may know someone who is, and they can put in a good word for you. Where are your friends working? Letting your friends' parents know that you're looking for a job. Just getting the word out there. You never know who might know someone who might have an opportunity for you. Applying for your job online, submitting applications. When you are submitting an application online, it's very important to follow all the steps that they ask you to do. A lot of them have you upload your resume, and then still after that point, even though you may feel like they have all the information that they need, they want you to break it down in whatever system that they're using. It is important to go through that process thoroughly and accurately, because they're also looking to see if you will take the time to complete it. And taking also a moment to just check for grammar and for spelling and things like that. Responding to emails, very important. Whether you're applying through an application form or you're responding or you're sending your resume through email, you're going to be getting updates saying, I've received this. A lot of them are pre-programmed and you are getting them automatically, but some of them are asking you to make some action steps. So it is important to read those emails, first of all, to ensure that it went through successfully, but maybe there's something that you need to do next. Some of them have aptitude tests. Sometimes it's quite as simple as, are you a real person? Are you interested in this role? Clicking yes will move your application to the next process. Answering your phone, very important. If the phone rings and you are sending out resumes, it's very important to answer it. Again, looking at how many rings you have so that it will go to voicemail if you're not available, but answering it, ensuring that music is turned off. If you are not in a controlled environment and there's things that are out of your control going on in the background, don't answer it in that moment. Listen to the voicemail and make sure that you respond quite quickly. Nailing the interview. Okay, so preparing for a virtual interview. Right now, the case may be that you are going to be interviewing virtually. So a couple things you want to keep in mind. Ensuring that your phone or webcam is set up and working properly. And downloading the app if necessary. If it's a Zoom that they're using, maybe it's Skype. Getting familiar with it, making sure that it's on your computer or on your phone, and that you are familiar with how to use it best. And then practicing with a friend, using the same technology as a virtual interview. So having your friend call you and doing a mock interview, just even for the setup of it, seeing how it feels to talk to the screen, where to look, where not to look. And just being aware of some of those body language things that you might be doing that you're not even aware of. And preparing your environment, ensuring that the workspace is tidy and quiet, removing all distractions. If there's other individuals living in the home, maybe suggesting that they go outside and play, maybe having them take a walk. And then getting dressed as if it was an actual in-person interview. That again is a very important step that you don't want to miss. You want to take it seriously and you want to show them, the employer, that you're also taking it seriously. One other step in preparing for the interview is doing your research, knowing where it is that you're applying to. What do they do? What do they value? What's important to them? What is their mission statement? And news, have they been in the news lately? What's going on with them? Have they opened up a new business? That would be important information to know. Some common interview errors, no eye contact. That is a very important one, especially if you're doing it online. You want to make sure that you know where to look so that you appear to be as engaged as you are. So that again takes practice. One-word answers. Not answering with yes, okay, no. They want to know more about you. They want to see a glimpse of your personality. They want stories, short stories, but stories. So elaborating on some of those answers is a good idea. Bad body language, making sure that you're sitting up, that you're engaged. If you're on a swivel chair, some people will swivel if they're nervous. So just make sure that you're aware of your body language. Being too early or too late. I like to say that 12 minutes is kind of my magic time frame of when to arrive for an interview. 15 minutes is just too long to be on before that interview, and 10 minutes is just not quite early enough. So 12 minutes is a good kind of number to aim for, and it gives you a little bit of wiggle room if something does happen outside of your control. Poor appearance, we've already addressed that, just making sure that you're wearing something that's appropriate to that interview and you've taken some effort to get ready for that interview. Not doing any research. If they ask you, why do you want this job? Why do you want to work for us? If you don't really know what they do, it's going to be a challenging answer to come up with. So I'd also advise you, as you're applying online, to copy paste the job descriptions into a Word file. So that even if they are taken offline, you still have record of where it is that you applied and what it is that you would be doing. Sometimes when they get to the interview phase, employers will take the job description off of Indeed or whatever it is that they're using, and you're no longer able to access it. So it is a good idea to have a separate area where you do save those job descriptions. Being too dressed up. Having no questions. At the end of the interview, usually they'll ask you, do you have any questions for us? You want to have something to say. You could ask something about the training. You could ask something about safety measures that are in place through the COVID pandemic. You could ask something about the dress code. But doing your research and coming up with some good questions to have available. If they've answered all your questions in the interview and you are feeling a bit of panic, say, actually, I did have some questions prepared. You did answer them, but if I think of anything else, I'll get in touch with you. Okay? Better than saying no. And then bashing old bosses, bashing past experiences. Even if you did have a poor experience as your last job, you want to make sure that you speak of it positively. Look for the good things. And you can get help from one of the coaches at the Y to help answer those questions if you were let go. The dirty dozen. Are they going to ask you all of these 12 questions word for word? Absolutely not. But what they will be doing is asking you questions around a lot of these themes. So being prepared by going through these dirty dozen questions will give you a better idea of what they may be asking, and it will help you be prepared. Just for a couple, why do you want to work for our company? Talk about what they've been doing. Talk about their mission statement, how that aligns with your own personal mission statement. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? They want to know that you are working towards something, that you want to grow, that you want to develop. So tell them about that. The STAR technique. We want to touch on this real quick. A lot of employers now are using the STAR technique to find out more about you. They are based on behavioral style questions. For example, tell me about a time when you had a conflict with a coworker. How did you handle it? Give me an example of a time when you went above and beyond what was asked of you. What they're looking for here is a story. They want the situation, the who, the what, the when, the task. What needed to happen? What was the challenge? The action. What did you do to change that situation? And the result. How did it all turn out? And try to pick a story that has a good ending. And again, practice, practice, practice around some of these different themes will help you answer these questions successfully. After the interview, it's not over once you walk out of that interview. You want to make sure that you take the time to follow up. Give them a quick call, send them a quick email. It shows your interest, it shows your professionalism, and just thank them for the time that they took to interview you. Let them know that you're very interested in the position. It could make the difference between you being selected and another candidate. And finally, accepting the offer of employment. So hopefully you've already thought it over based on the beginning of this workshop, and you know that this is the job for you. But is it feasible? Do you have consistent transportation? And then making your call. If it's a yes, let them know. Thank them so much for the offer. Maintaining professionalism. Asking questions. What should I bring? What should I wear? When do I start? Hopefully they'll make all of this clear to you, but if not, those are important things that you need to know, especially if you're going into a big hotel. Where do you go when you get there? How do you know which area to check in with? Now, if the answer is a no, you've decided actually it's not going to work out for me, or maybe you were offered 2 jobs and you had to pick one, make sure that you turn down the other job professionally. Let them know, thank you so much for the offer. Unfortunately, I have been offered another job that I will be taking at this time. That is a very important step. You never know if you might need that employer in the future. And it's just respectful to give them that information and let them know. And most of the time, they'll say, good for you, all the best. So what if? What if you don't hear from the employer right away? What if you don't get the job that you were sure that you were going to get? It can be very discouraging, especially now when we're all kind of in a season of isolation. So a couple of things that I would encourage you to do is just stay motivated. Try to schedule job searching into your day so that you're not hyper-focused on it. Maybe an hour or 2 in the morning, and then quickly checking your email in the evening. Staying active, going out for walks, doing some positive reading, connecting with the Y for support. It's very important to stay motivated and to keep moving forward in your journey. Some frequently asked questions that we've had at the end of this webinar, I'll just address them very quickly. I am looking for my first job. How would I answer an interview question asking about previous work experience? For example, tell me about a time when. So that was, that question came from that STAR technique. So if you haven't worked before and you're struggling to come up with some of those situations, I would encourage you to look at your education experiences. Maybe you've been on a soccer team and a situation arose when you were in conflict with a teammate, and how did you handle it? When you did something extra, and how was it celebrated? So looking at some other experiences that you've had will really help you answer that question. If you really can't think of anything, then kind of switch it in your head and in your way of thinking to a situational question. Give me an example, or sorry, what would I do if this happened? And answer it that way. Next question, my only previous work experience is from a family business. Can my parents be a reference? Ideally, we're not using family members as references because they want you to get the job, of course, as much as you want to get the job. So if you have only worked for a family business, is there anyone else that works in that business that could give a reference for you? Is there a supervisor, even a coworker? Is there a manager? Is there anyone else that could speak to the fact that you, again, showed up on time, had a good attitude, and were a good worker? If there's truly no one else, then I would absolutely, yes, use your parents as a reference. But I would be honest with that when you present the references to them, and let them know it's a small family business. I work with my parents and my sister. So I was hoping my parents could be a reference for me. I would also include a teacher, a coach, maybe a volunteer coordinator as well, just to give a different perspective. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming. Hope that you have a better understanding of your job search after this webinar. If you have any more questions, I would invite you to check out any of our sites in St. Catharines, Thorold, and Niagara Falls. We have the information below, and I wish you all the best.